Hey, what is up? It's Jim. I'm back with another Tiller tip. And before we get going, I just want to thank Carlos Sanchez for filling in last week, giving a great and inspiring Tiller tip. And, obviously, he is one of the top two Tiller coaches easily. And that's a hilarious joke because there's only two of us. But yeah, I actually want to talk today about a third Tiller coach. Yeah, and you're probably like, well, that's what made that joke hilarious. There's only two. But I did train a third one, and it's kind of a hard story, and I hope that I can get through it easily. But I want to tell you guys about Karissa. Karissa Rund. She is a very amazing woman, and she became really good friends with Alicia 9 years ago. Alicia has this horrible chronic illness and was getting a treatment called IVIG. She would go to a cancer infusion center, and typically how those places work is there's kind of two chairs in one bay, and they can throw a curtain between the two patients. But Alicia got bayed up with Karissa, and they became fast friends and realized how much they had in common as fellow sufferers, but also as Christ followers. And so they would schedule their treatment together so that they could encourage each other and pray for each other. They would literally, as time went along, they would hold hands and just help each other through an unbelievably painful season. And yeah, Carissa's cancer was awful. Stage 4 old man colon cancer that was just really aggressive. And, it was really, really hard. I mean, it's been 9 years of Karissa fighting through this. And Karissa has such a story of suffering even before the appearance of this colon cancer. Her mom got cancer when she was a little girl, when Karissa was a little girl, and watched her mom suffer. They were, I hope this is fair to share, but part of a church that was maybe you just don't have enough faith, and it was just a really hard season, and her mom eventually passed away. Karissa went to a high school here locally called Columbine. Maybe you've heard of it. And she was very much there that day and was in a part of the school that should have blown up with a bomb, and obviously didn't. And that was a tragic and traumatic day for Karissa. Karissa got married shortly out of high school to her high school sweetheart, and he joined the army and died as a war hero in Fallujah. Just unbelievable. And just a lot of suffering that she's endured. And then she as she's about to get married to Doug, her current husband, she gets diagnosed with this awful cancer, and it's it's really hard. Her story is amazing. More about that here in a little bit, but I think Carissa's inspired so many people, and she definitely knows expectation gaps. And she actually decided a couple years ago, with my encouragement, she kept talking about wanting to do this. She became an end-of-life doula for other people who were dying. And, a doula is someone that typically helps bring life into this world. And she was trying to gracefully help take life out of this world. This isn't a Dr. Kevorkian kind of thing, but she is just availing herself as a pastor to help people through an unbelievably hard season and be there with these families. And it just speaks to her character. She was actively dying and being succumbed with cancer and wanting to serve people in this way. And it was just so beautiful. And, at some point last year, we're in some mutual meetings as, our ministries were operating out of the same 501c3 umbrella. And, she's just talking about how hard it was to find clients, and nursing homes didn't really understand the dynamic that she was trying to bring. And it was just really hard. And we both decided that, honestly, being a Tiller coach would be an amazing use of Carissa's gifts. And so I started training her, and Actually, this was even before I started training Carlos. I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's figure it out. I had never trained anyone, and so I was fumbling through it, but I just knew Karissa was going to be able to encourage people with all kinds of different expectation gap experiences because of the expert that she was, and her heart was so for people, and I just it was so exciting for me, the thought of bringing Karissa on. And shortly after we got done with training, whatever that means, Karissa took a turn for the worse, and for the last few months, things have gotten just progressively harder. And Alicia and I were able to go and visit her at the hospital on Thursday and have a really nice visit with her, and her still being somewhat cognizant and able to participate, but as of Friday, she took an even bigger turn, and Karissa passed away on Monday morning, and I'm really upset about it. Just so inspired by her, and I'm upset for us, right? I'm crushed for my friend Doug, and just so impressed by how he's dealing with this. And I think I can be really authentic here, like with Alicia having a chronic illness, I've put myself in that position of what is it going to be like, not if I lose her, but when I lose her. And, I don't envy Doug at all, but I so admire him for how he's dealing with it. And it was a privilege to try to be there for him to any degree over the last few days. And all of that is just me trying to set up this tiller tip. And before I get into the tiller tip, I want Karissa's story to go on so badly. I will probably share on Substack a video of her sharing her story at church last year, and it's unbelievably inspiring. So I just want to share that with people and keep her story alive, because I think her story is really important. And she's written a book, and I'm gonna make sure that book sees the light of day and that people can learn and glean from Karissa. But here's the tiller tip. Death is really hard for us. I think it's harder for us than it is for Karissa. In fact, I don't want to make this trite on any level, especially for, friends of Karissa that are going through it and feeling very much what I'm feeling right now. But I call death puberty 2, and I don't want to be trite at all, but just hang with me there for a moment, because I just remember being a little boy and knowing that there was going to be this transition that was coming in life. And the P word, puberty, like, oh my gosh, what is that going to be like? I'm actually remember being scared about puberty and uncertain what it was going to feel like and what it was going to be like, and what things would be like after I make that transition. And no one loves puberty, of course, but I just believe that puberty ends up not being that big of a deal, although it's really hard when you're going through it. But it's not that big of a deal because we all had role models as we were about to go through it and going through it. I could look to my dad and my brother and be like, hey, I'm not certain I'm going to like this, but they seem okay. I think it's going to be okay for me. They were role models to say it's going to be okay. And so that gave me some comfort, some solace as I was going in and through that transition. And I made it, right? I think I successfully did it. Some people might argue otherwise, of course. But like puberty was hard, but I got through it. And it was nice to be able to have some role models in that transition. In death, I think, I don't want to, just put light words on this, but death is just a transition. If you are a Christ follower, if you believe in him, if you have confessed with your mouth and believed in your heart, you have the Holy Spirit, and all of us are going to die and experience just another transition. It is a wild transition. It is what I'm calling puberty 2. It is a transition similar to that, in that we don't know what it's going to feel like, and we don't know what it's going to be like when we have that transition. And the most unfortunate thing about puberty 2 is we don't have role models that we can look to and be like, hey, look, like they're okay. Like I can't look to Karissa and say, like, look how much better this is. Like going through puberty 2 is just such an advantage for her. And I absolutely believe that. I believe that all of Carissa's brokenness and, like what was wrong, what was sick, what was, just diseased has all been healed. Like she has firmly transitioned. I do believe it, but I can't look to her and say, like, hey, unequivocally, look at her example. If she can do it, I can do it. We can all do it. But this is where faith really comes in. I just believe that death is a transition, much like puberty, and we make a big deal out of it, and it's understandable. It's a big deal for us that are still around, but I think that Karissa is, at this very moment, enjoying this transition that she's made, and she's enjoying the fullness of what life was supposed to be. Like puberty 2 is really beautiful. And I'm excited for her. I'm so sad for us, all of us. I know Alicia's really crushed. The Alicia and Karissa story has been seemingly inseparable for a long time, just so intertwined of suffering. But it gives me solace to know, like maybe at some point, definitely at some point, I am going to be in Doug's position, and it's going to be unspeakably hard, but to know that this is just a second puberty and that the transition actually is so good for the person going through it, it does give me comfort. And so I hope that doesn't come off trite. I hope that speaks to you if you're mourning the loss of Karissa or mourning the loss of someone close to you, that might give you some perspective. And all of us are going to get there one day. We don't know when. Karissa was 40 years old, far too soon to experience puberty 2. But regardless, that transition was beautiful. And I don't know how to dismount here. I kept it together for the most part, and I'm sorry this tiller tip was so long. But I just wanted to share that because I think that perspective is important. And I'm going to choose to look at Karissa as a role model for, the transitions, for the puberty 2s that I'm going to have to deal with, my own and other people around me, because this is too hard. It's too hard. It's not the way it's supposed to be. So thank you for checking this out. Please share this as you see fit, and just appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time. See ya.